Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Understanding Spirit. It's a rather grey, overcast morning here. I said it's going to be hot, and it is pretty warm right now. Anyway, it's got to be a really good show because not only I've got my really good friend and colleague David Parry with me as usual, we're joined by our mutual friend right up there in Trondheim in Norway, Johan Alstad. Good morning, David, and good morning, Johan.
Morning,
Oi,
both.
oi.
I love that. Oi, oi. You always say that, don't you, Johan? Is it a
Yeah, I heard
nautical
it.
term?
Yeah, I heard it
Right.
once and I decided I liked it, so why not?
Yeah, why not? Indeed. Um, I think it's going to be a very interesting show. It's been quite some time since we've talked to you. So, briefly, what's been going on with you? I mean, you've got that many strings to your bow, even a stand up comic, incredible.
Well, I tried to be funny or at least entertaining. So right now I'm doing some YouTube shorts, just
That's good.
trying to familiarize myself with the medium, but right now I'm involved in a project of mine which is mapping Viking era. I'm
Oh, right, okay.
The working title is the occult mapping of the Norse past, present, and future.
Because the Vikings, they tried to take over Great Britain, didn't they? They didn't succeed, but they tried. Oh, dear. Uh, it's been a long time, David, isn't it, since we've had Johan on. And
Yeah, I hate to admit it, but it's always good to have him on the show. Yeah, I mean, I
you
don't think
said
they
that with
try to.
clenched teeth, did you, David?
If I had any teeth left, I would clench them. Yeah, I mean, no, I mean, he's an annoying good chum, like all good chums. I think his new book. I don't know what really happened to the first one on the New Age. I think there's a question mark. We've all got to help him find out over the next couple of months. This new book on the occult history, no, an occult map. I think that sounds absolutely fascinating. And the Vikings are fascinating. I mean, people they annoy me and they intrigue me at the same time. I mean, I'm not sure they actually tried to take over. I mean, they weren't really settlers. What they I mean, it was really sort of at the ancient world in some ways, where people go around raiding and taking resources. They were massively competent traders, and people tend to forget certain parts of their history, like they were doing more business with Islamic princes than anybody else in Europe at that particular time. They were full of energy, full of life, full of youth. Um, they represent, I mean, brave explorers and intrepid warriors. But so it's we can learn certain things from them. We've got to be careful of other things because maybe what the world doesn't need at the moment is more warriors. What we not of that particular type anyway. We certainly need more explorers. But I mean, Johann's work, yeah, you hit it, Alan. A multi-talented person. I love his comedy. I love some of his comedy characters. I think they're really underappreciated. Like there's one octopus head. There's another chicken head. It's ethnic Norwegian humor, but it's also not ethnic Norwegian humor. It stretches way beyond that into the postmodern. So, of course, we're getting onto my territory there. I think Johan needs a much bigger audience and a much more appreciative following. What do you think, Alan?
I agree. Johan, you should be far better known than you are. For people who don't know you, um, I think your life's journey has been quite remarkable, and I hope you don't mind, but I think people ought to be reminded of what you've been through when you was younger, losing the ability to walk and talk and everything. And now you can talk English probably better than David and I can.
Speak
And
for
you had to
yourself, Ellen
teach
Cox.
yourself.
Speak for yourself, Ellen Cox.
Yeah, you had to teach yourself to walk and talk and everything. You're quite a remarkable person, and I fervently believe that your talent should be more widely known. And if being on this show helps in any way at all, that would be marvelous. But I
Well,
don't I
I'm
don't know if
I'm
you
actually
see it
looking
like that,
forward.
David.
I mean, that Alan Cox is underappreciated. I mean, I'm looking forward to your new book. Is there sex after death? And why Alan has become a happy medium. So
Oh dear. Happy
I
so
think
medium, yeah.
you're being a
That's a
bit.
good one.
I think
speak,
you're
foreigner.
being dramatic about my past. Uh, I didn't. I wasn't paraplegic. I had stuff to work with, but who doesn't, right? So
Yeah, I think what Alan was doing was commending your warrior and Viking like spirit, which
yeah, I
Yes,
got that.
indeed.
Alan and I both agree is formidable and admirable.
Well, thank you.
What worries is the wrong word. What sort of saddens me is that someone like you really isn't better known. I still think you need to write your autobiography at some point because Alan's right. You have had a fascinating journey, and those were things you needed to battle with, and you overcame them. I mean, that's a Viking saga, young Johan.
The saga isn't finished yet, so mm, I can't speak about that. It's a work in progress. But what I can say is that along the way, I've learned a lot about me and about the world around me.
Uh, just going on what you say about the world around you. Norway is very, very close to Russia, and with everything that's going on at the moment, in general in Norway, is there a sense of worry about what might happen, or do you feel quite confident that that won't transpire?
Uh, no, I don't think you can. Sure, there are always people who worry, but I don't think. I think most of the Norwegian population have other things to think about, and Russia is. Well, they have always been there, so we are quite used to them. And funny anecdote is, well, under the Second World War, when they came to help liberate Norway,
Yes.
we actually torched our houses up in Norway so the Russians couldn't take it over because we know how they are. So that's just how it is.
Over yeah, over in the UK, we don't get really any news about what's going on in Norway at all. It, it's almost like it sounds awful, but it's people forget Norway is there. I don't know why. I find this a fascinating country, but I feel it, or is it done deliberately by the Norwegians? It's a way of being under the radar and getting things done without the world really knowing or understanding.
What I think people tend to forget is that while Norway is geographically neighbors with Europe, it's not really, uh, or should I say it, it's not really a part of Europe because its border is Sweden and Russia, and that's it. So we are kind of
Yeah,
isolated, even in modern times. So,
but over the centuries, there's been some important people who are Norwegian. That's right, isn't it, David?
Well, I mean, I'm probably the right and the wrong person to ask on all of this because I've been obsessed with Scandinavian cultures from the year dot. I think they're unique, they're fragile, they're crisp, they're literate in a way that curiously the rest of Europe is not. Um, they fascinate me. The natural treasures fascinate me. The peoples fascinate me. So I'm the right and the wrong person because I've been in love with that part of the world forever. One thing I do want to say is I'm really sick of Starmer's mind bending ideology getting everywhere. I mean, are the Russians really an immediate threat, or is that a way of him bolstering up the fact he's losing popular opinion? He's losing all support. I mean, the Russians have always been there. If we're going back to World War II, they were on our side. And without them, we probably wouldn't have won, despite what the Americans keep trying to brainwash us with. I mean, the big battles were over in their part of the world, not here. And more people died in those battles than this part of the world. That needs to be remembered. I mean, they were fighting for liberty and democracy. Certainly, Putin is not a pleasant man, but that's not Russia, that's a leadership. And, have they ever said in any way that they want to attack Western Europe? I mean, the answer is no. This is ludicrous, mind bending twaddle on the part of a failing government that will do and say anything to try and keep itself in a popularity that's already gone. Mr. Starmer, we don't like you, sod off. I mean, we need to get a grip of all of this. Just because it's said on TV and on the radio doesn't mean it's real. And we've got to remember how low modern politics has sunk. What do you think, Alan?
Well, yeah. I mean, he's done his third U-turn. Uh, that famous saying by Margaret Thatcher, "The lady is not for turning." Starmer's got his own saying, hasn't he? Uh, this man is for turning. He's turning as often as he possibly can when everybody goes against him. So, we've got another 4 years of this. Well, what does British politics mean over in Norway, Johan? Is it of interest at all, or just not? I don't blame you if you're not.
actually, it's kind of like this. Every people on Earth is should be interested in the world around them because if my neighbors have a good life, chances are they will help me live a good life. Uh, so of course I follow English politics in I'm not a fantast. I'm not, researching this and who said that and who's this kind. But I noticed there are some extremist waves in Europe right now, and unfortunately, it seems they are winning ground, and um, that saddens me, but more than that, I cannot say.
How do okay, changing the subject in a way, but I suppose it's linked. How is the psychic and spirituality perceived in Norway? Do of trouble, or is it just something that's there and most people don't think about it, or is it quite a substantial part of Norwegian life?
Well, when I said earlier that Norway was partially removed from Europe, we are, but in some senses we are just like Europe. We have cell phone and TV and so more and more of us are getting distracted and polarized by mass media and stuff like that. So spirituality is fading, but people on the coast of Norway or in the mountains who live remote lives, they are as strong as ever. And additionally, I can tell you there's something about this land, which I'm sure you feel about England.
Yeah, of course, of course. I mean, from I have to go along with what David says about our country here. It's a shadow of what it used to be, and I do feel that um, the great in the name Great Britain shouldn't be there anymore because I can't really see how we are great. Um,
Yeah.
they say we get the politics, the politicians, and the leaders that we ask for. Um, is that true? Do you think that's true, David?
I think it's worse than that. I think we get the politicians we deserve. And if everybody's got their head up their arse in Benidorm, this is what we deserve. Um, Morning, Dave Moriarty. You are joining us. He's just said, "Good morning, all. I've been listening to the Sky podcast War Game. It imagines Russia attacking us with conventional weapons. This could have triggered a review of our defences. If that's true, the level of fantasy in Whitehall is a disgrace. And the level of fear mongering, I mean, that can be measured, and that is a disgrace. There's a war going on between Russia and Ukraine. You know, not being nasty to anybody, that is a long way from here. Does it affect us? Yes. But that has been going on in various forms for centuries. That does not mean the Russians want to attack Western Europe. There's an entire different history of their relations with Western Europe than with that part of the world. And, these problems are being manipulated through the inadequacy of politicians and bureaucrats at the minute in Whitehall. I mean, you mentioned Margaret Thatcher, Alan. I'm no Tory, but my God, we
Yeah.
wouldn't be in the current position we're in if she was stood around. We wouldn't have sunk so low, and we wouldn't be responding to whispers in a schoolyard and gossip amongst the Americans who are always looking for trouble to sell weapons. Dave Moriarty has also said the people acting as the government in the podcast were people who have served in them. That's neither here nor there, because most of the current people serving this nation are inadequate beyond belief. What do you think, Alan?
Yes, I totally agree, and I hate to think what's over the next 4 years before there's another general election. It's quite frightening, really. Um, but I mean, this show is called Understanding Spirit, and we try to give a mix of what's going on in the world with the connection with spirituality, and and that includes the spirituality in all different countries, including Norway. And it makes you wonder to what degree, when people, the churches in all countries fail the people who this. I don't know. You think? Hello.
Right, you've gone into a strange
I
Android-like
don't know whether we've lost that. Are
extended
you there, Johan?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hello.
Yeah, I think it was your end, Alan. You went into this sort of strange electronic, crypto electronic voice. Yeah, I mean that's a good point. I mean
I don't know what's happened there.
the point of this show. Hang on, Dave Moriarty's just said. I think the gremlins
We
are in the
seem to
system
have a
again. They
problem.
certainly are. They certainly are. Yeah. Spirituality is part of human nature.
It's just gone.
I don't know what people are talking about when they, are you spiritual or not? Being spiritual is a part of human nature. If you're not a spiritual person, then you're some sort of animal because you've lost a subtle connection with the environment around you and yourself. Spirituality on one level hasn't got, excuse me, much to do with religion. I mean, the two things are linked, obviously, but you can be a deeply spiritual person and an atheist. Scandinavia has the type of spirituality that is very free and individual and almost anarchistic in a positive sense, whereby you make your own connection, you find your meaning and value in this incredible environment. Have the churches let us all down? I mean, people know my views. Yes, they have. And they don't seem, most of the churches, most of the big churches certainly, to be that interested in reconnecting with people. What they keep doing is rechurning the same old thing, same old, same old, same old, and just wanting us on our knees to go along with it. The thing that's outraged me this week is the Church of England getting war ready. Sorry, aren't you meant to be making peace and talking about peace? The Church of England's getting war ready so it can be a leading voice in case there's conflict. I've never heard anything so disgraceful in my life. What do you think, Alan?
Yeah, that is absolutely awful. I mean, we've had about what's the scandal over in England, and now there's one now going on in Wales as well. Where's what is it? The leader of the Welsh church is resigned, and you do wonder what all that is about. Johan, in Norway, um, this might sound a rather naive question, but do you get scandals like that within the churches over there, or is this more a British thing?
I think your England is in a special situation because it's a very old country and it has established churches for longer than we have, and you have a completely different relationship to churches than we do. We have sort of, the christening. It didn't take all over Norway. So part of us has always been rebellious.
Right. Yeah. Good. We need a bit of rebellion over it, I think, in a peaceful way. Can you see an answer to it all, David?
Well, let's have a quick look at
That's
the Archbishop of Wales, Andy John, I think it was, wasn't it? Who stepped
yeah.
down after a culture of excessive drinking, sexual promiscuity, bullying, and bad language. I mean, there we are for a churchman. You know, we deserve the churchmen we get in the same way we deserve the politicians we get. If everybody's got their head up their arse in Benidorm and they won't get involved, and they just want to spend their life as a perpetual teenager, zonked out of their heads on alcohol, this is what the result is. You know, we get no clear leadership and no clear examples anywhere in any way. Is there a solution? Of course there is. People need to grow up a bit and realise the world isn't here to give them a living, and we're adults, we're mature, we're not children. We don't need people like that, any of them, serving in these positions. Is there an answer to it all? Of course there is. But it's the sort of answer people don't want, Alan. You know, take some personal responsibility, stop being such a child, and get on with life as an adult. What do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree. And also, we, we've become like a mini America where it's funny enough, actually. I'll, I'll quote something that Lee, my stepson, said the other day on the phone. We was having quite a deep conversation, I suppose. And he said, you know, most people, they it's almost like they don't believe that one day that going they are going to die. It's like they believe that life is forever, and as long as you can get everything that you want, then you will carry on in this marvelous way, being bombarded by adverts on the commercial TV stations. Everybody's smiling. If you buy this, you'll be wonderful. You need the latest iPhone. You need the latest car, and if you a woman buys this particular perfume, all the men will come running to them. It says, where where have we where have we lost our direction in life? And I think, I think there's a lot of truth in that, David.
Well, I mean, we're cut off from the sources of life, which, of course, are spirit.
Yeah,
We're cutting ourselves increasingly off from spirit. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that completely. People are almost telling themselves now they're just living forever, and they're living in that way forever. I can't imagine anything more awful that you just get a new product and think you're the bee's knees. I mean, mindless and stupid, and ultimately unrealistic, since you are going to die, and you know you'll have nothing. You won't have made a footprint that anybody respects or anybody wants to pick. You know, you won't get people who want to remember you. You're just a sort of user that got through life, and you're right. You did it your way. Big deal. There are other people in the world as well. You know, I mean, people. I think they misunderstand the religions of the past, the old pagan religions. I mean, I know Johan is interested in what some people call heathenry, which is the pagan religions of the north as opposed to the pagan religions of southern Europe. I've got an interest in both of those things, you know, which could be very positive and very negative. I mean, you had a negative experience with the god Odin at one point, I seem to remember, Alan. Is our Alan Cox still there?
I am. Yeah, it went off and then it come back on again. Yes.
So did you hear what I
Can you
said,
hear me?
Alan?
I did. Yeah, I did, David. Yes.
Time for that story, I suspect.
Sorry, I must have missed some of it then, because I don't know what story you want about.
That you had a negative experience with the god Odin at one point.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's yeah. Going back some years ago, when I used trying to make sense of my spirituality about what I was supposed to be doing, and uh, I used to go around to I'd hire a room in a pub or a club or something like that to give people readings. And anyway, a small room by myself, and so people could come in. And on the old-fashioned fireplace was this really big frieze, this like mural of Odin on his chariot there, and there's supposed to be a link there directly to the underworld. And actually, it's got a horrible feel to it. That pub has, it really has, and they have that much trouble there. And I was totally naive. This is a good many years ago, and suddenly in the bar, all hell, literally, I use the word hell broke loose, and the, the landlady come running, stay where you are, stay you are, and then I heard somebody shout, uh, he's glassed him, and I hurriedly put all my things together and run out the other door out of the place. And is that just people, or is that the negative energies that's coming from the underworld? Because when you and Eve, it's up on the hill as you look from anybody's ever been to Wednesbury. You've got like the main road, and the main town is just to the one side of the main road, and then you look to the other side, and there's a hill, and this pub stands up on the hill. You can't miss it. It's there, and it's just got a really strange feeling to it. So if people don't believe that different places uh, aren't connected to bad energies and that, because Windsor is a strange place, because a lot of places have got the name Woden, which is like a take on Odin, and you've got Wodensborough, and you've got Woden North East, and Woden North South, and North, and all that. And it's really strange. Yet the people who live there are really friendly. You can walk down the street, and complete strangers will just say hello to you. Yet it's got this really strange undercurrent. I don't know if you've ever come a place like that, David.
Yeah, I think places have their own feng shui, don't they? They have their own energy, they have their own spirit, their genius Loki. Certainly, I mean, in terms of the old northern gods, they had positive aspects as well as negative. You've got to remember that, I mean, Carl Jung, the great psychologist, certainly wrote a great deal about the archetype of Odin waking up again in our time, which is very interesting. I mean, it's possible to say, along with the anthropologist Richard Rudgley, who I've known personally for years, that sadly the negative part of that archetype is waking up first. So you end up with 70 years ago in Germany, a group of people mixing mixing politics and religion in a very unhealthy way, and some of whom became major leaders in the Nazi Party. But that's the negative side of all of this. What would be the positive side? Would it be a greater concern for ecology, nature? A greater concern for looking after ourselves and each other and our environment? I mean, that strikes me as a very positive side of it all, and certainly that is there. It's good, and if we're looking at religious history, Christianity, and I'm very proud to be an old Catholic, but old Catholicism does not blind you to other religious and spiritual paths. If anything, it embraces them, it absorbs them. It's the icing on the cake. So, I mean, the god Odin has been the great god of northern peoples for untold thousands of years. And the type of spirituality, the type of frisson, the type of energy that represents is very unwise to simply reject. Christians, all these Christians turned up a couple of centuries ago, 2,000 years ago, and the wise ones would always say, yeah, we're not denying that. All of that's interesting and all of that's fascinating, but we're talking about something higher. We're not denying what you say, but we're talking about something higher. For me, that's when the debate starts getting interesting. I don't know what you two think.
Johan,
in
no,
in
I'm
old
sorry, Johan. Go on, I'm sorry.
in old mythology, it was very often considered a possibility that Loki, god of mischief, interfered in the business of humans. So very often it was Loki or his offspring that muddled the waters.
Do you
Yeah.
find in Norway that there are areas that feel you feel a kind of presence more so than other places?
Yes. Interesting point is that some places have what do you say? Let's call it aura, and people who live in those places of aura, they get um, we call it in food. It's a state of mind where they are angry at everything just because, and that's the most practical substance we can find about it. There's only, for example, a friend of mine had an uncle who was foul. He was not nice. He punched his animals. He had a farm. He punched his animals, and when his old mother fell down, he just asked her, "Why do you lay on the floor?" He didn't bother trying to help her or check. There are actual people in Norway who gets this way. We don't know why, and I feel that it's something with the land. It's I can't explain it. It's crazy. It's strange, and I don't know.
I mean, perhaps it is because Norway is a little bit out on the limb, isn't it, to what most people class as Europe. Um, and I say you say that your religion doesn't go back as far as it does over here, but I mean, there must have been people living in Norway well over all the centuries.
Yeah, but we have always been partly partly nomadic. In spirit, we have always been moving around. because while there have been restrictions of different kinds on Norway, moving around has never been. And let me give you an example. If you're born in Norway, then before we got technology, you had nature around you, and even if you loved that scenario, if you wanted to change the channel, you just had to move, and so that's what people did. So we have a lot of big family names who have separated all over the country, and so it's I don't know. Does it answer your question?
Yeah, I suppose it does. Yeah, because I mean, we tend over here tend to think of our country as being one, but if you actually look at the UK, um, we're very tribal. Um, each area has its own identity, and I think we try and kid ourselves that everybody's the same, and uh, and that seems to be the case in all four countries uh, of the UK. I mean, you've got places like Cornwall, who they've muted in the past. They want to be independent from um, England. You've got Wales as want independence. You've got Scotland want independence, and of course, you've got the ongoing troubles, Ireland and Northern Ireland, which over a good many years have risen up and then quietened down.
Mm.
So there's a lot of tribal um, things going on there, isn't there, David?
I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, the actual phrase United Kingdom gives away the secret. I mean, really, we're four different countries, and at least four different ethnic groups joined together by political contracts, by various forms of agreement amongst the nobility, so called, and among under the monarch. Different ethnicities with different histories and different outlooks. I mean, whether the United Kingdom is still workable, whether it was ever workable, is certainly a question mark. It tended to mean the English dominating everybody else.
Yeah.
And let's unpack that a bit. The Cornish have never, and it's a different ethnic group, never really considered themselves Anglo-Saxon for simple reasons, like under the reign of Henry VIII. They were fighting with Henry VIII because they wanted more independence, and he started selling loads of them into slavery. He had foreign slavers turn up, and thousands of people were sold into slavery. So, Northern Ireland. I mean, did it go into rest again? No, we sent soldiers over there to kill lots of people. We need a bit of realism about British history and what's actually happened here, because unless we can face what's gone on, like the English conquering the Irish again and again and again in the most bloodthirsty way imaginable to make a point, we're not going to be able to progress. I see nothing wrong in itself with ethnic identity and different ethnic cultures. I think they're very wonderful things. But if we pretend everything's been hunky dory because a load of aristocrats making huge profits in multinationals want us to think that way, false globalism, then there'll be no peace at all. There's a real globalization. I'm a globalist, but real globalization, whereby we all admit our differences and try and build bridges between each other. And there's false globalization, pretending that everything's just A-OK and you get on with your boring job because I'm making a mint, thank you. That is going to lead us into being a tiny outpost of hell, as opposed to the golden future that ordinary people deserve. What do you think, you two?
Well, I I'm just thinking back to I don't know if you remember. I was invited to Cambridge University some years ago to meet Professor Sabden, and he presented me with this most beautiful, authentic Kazakh gown. It's a men's smoking jacket, or whatever you want to call it. Absolutely beautiful. Because I'd done an appraisal on his book, and I've got the copy of the book. My name's on the credits at the back, and if only, I mean, Professor Sabden, he might be a lawmaker in Kazan, but he's got a wonderful heart, and he wants to see the world come together. He says the amount of wealth in the world should be more evenly distributed, and instead of people fighting over money, it should actually the wealth should be counted in electricity. Depending on the size of the country, each country gets so much electricity, which in turns then will make each country wealthy and viable. It took me a little while to try and understand what he was trying to get at, but I think what he was trying to say is that if only people could take away this thing of they, we're better than you and we want this, we'll take it off you to get it. I think that's what he was trying to get at. Um, is that a form of communism? Try communism, it doesn't work, does it? Does what we're supposed to have a democracy? Does that work? I don't know. I don't know what the answer is to that, David.
I don't really think communism's ever been tried, like real capitalism's never been tried. People can't get on enough together to even let that happen. Um, it's good to have a positive outlook, and it's good to think we're all human beings, which we are, and there's a lot of commonality between us. That doesn't necessarily have to lead to conflict and murder. I mean, let's face it, warfare is murder. You're not going away being this brave, bold warrior defending kith and kindred. Well, that might be part of it, but you've turned into a murderer. You are murdering other people who also have families and lives of their own. Um, I don't think Britain's much of a democracy. I don't think anyone would really say that. I mean, also,
Yes.
I mean, technically, we're a parliamentary monarchy. So is that democracy? I mean, not really. Um, and as I say, if nobody takes part in the little bit of freedom, political freedom we do have, why do they expect things to progress and get better? Of course they won't. I mean, Jeff Bezos, I mean, how much money can that man actually get? What was it recently hired? What was it, Venice, for his wedding? I mean, the difference between a millionaire and a billionaire is really not comprehended by most people who seem to have the strange thought that one day it will be them. Do you know, darlings, it will not be you. You will never get there, right? A billionaire has so much power as well as money. They can now hire whole cities for their weddings. And, while people are starving to death in other parts of the world, this is gross, immoral, and
Yeah. Hello.
David?
Hello. Hello. Is David gone, Johan?
I think he experienced some technical difficulty.
Yes, I think he has. Um, we're talking about Britain, and you're over there in Norway. Um,
Yeah.
is how do you perceive your your freedoms over there? Do you feel totally free? Do you feel you are controlled by government in any way, or are you
Uh,
allowed to, you know, within reason, do what you feel is right?
well, if I may point back to my book, this is what I'm trying to get at. I'm trying to get to a point that we in being in the modern world means we are restricted from certain ways of thinking, and by
Yes,
my book, I'm trying to set a searchlight on that. And as David mentioned, I'm not forgotten New Age. So I'm trying to by pointing to a path, I'm trying to shed a light on the path we used to have. Then I want to take it to a New Age forward. Uh, uh, Yeah, and so I feel that in doing so, I'm automatically trying to allude to a point that all our governments are trying to control us in different ways. You have Uh, what we have now is not as bad as they would have wanted to have it, but it's not as good as it could be either. So most people, except for certain individuals, are kind of forgetting that we have so much wiggle room if we choose to have it, but it can't be choice on individual level. It has to be like a big group that decide it.
yes, yeah, yeah. I can see that. I can. It's um, so you don't know when your new book is going to be ready for publication yet. You say it's an ongoing project.
Uh, to be honest, the book it kind of terrifies me and fascinates me. It's been an ordeal, and I don't think any publisher would touch it with a 10-foot pole because some of this stuff is explosive.
That's the type of thing we do need to be published.
Yeah, I know. That's the fun thing. We need it to be published, but they, no one will dare because they have.
What do you think of that, David?
Well, I can suggest a publisher now that I know for a fact would. Just get the book written, man, for God's sake. Johan and I share an interest in the New Age. Um, well, I mean, right, on the trivial, on a trivial level, what is wrong with waving around a few crystals on a beach? Absolutely nothing. If people feel better, you don't have to have this grinding Anglo-Saxon attitude to things in life. Are there subtle energies coming from it that affect your inner organs? Well, the answer is yes and no. Are these things measurable? Are they like magnetism or electricity? No, they're not. Otherwise, they could be measured and detected. But maybe there are other sorts of things. Maybe they're psychological, which is just as important. And what is wrong with that if people feel better and are having happier lives? But the New Age is much more than just waving around crystals, which have an aesthetic effect, if nothing else. The New Age is a new view. It's saying, okay, we've tried all this stuff, and most of it's partially worked. It hasn't that it, it's not that it hasn't worked. It's only partially worked. What is the next and better step? What can we do from here? I think that's quite exciting, and I think that's worth getting to. I think we've got to be less afraid of nobody touching things and nobody publishing things without giving it an airing, and seeing if that's the case or not. And certainly, I mean, as I've said to you before, Alan, off air and on air, this New Age malarkey appears to come from the writings of Alice Bailey, who I consider one of the greatest spiritualists of the last century, and her views, her mystical encounters, her positive outlook for world history really really shouldn't just be brushed aside. What do you think, Alan?
No, I do agree with you. Also, I have to say that we're out of time. You would not believe it. Uh, I think it's been I've really enjoyed the show, and thank you, Johan, for joining us today. Johan Alstad, quite an incredible guy over there in Norway. Look him up, right? If you Google his name or go on Facebook and that, uh, I'm sure you'd like to hear from anybody, wouldn't you, Johan?
Yeah, of course. I'm honored, and I have to say thank you for inviting me to this show.
Yeah, it's so good to hear your voice again. It's been a long time, Johan. Uh, I
Yes.
enjoyed meeting you a couple of times in London. Fabulous. And also, David, thank you again. Um, David Parry, my very good friend. Uh, how can anybody get hold of you?
Well, same old, same old. I'm on Facebook. I'm only a poor cleric, so I can't afford a team doing it for me. It is me sending out the rude messages. It's not anybody else. I'm on social media, most of them, not all of them, because what's the point of being on absolutely all of them? I'm easy to contact, Alan. Also, sort of LinkedIn. I know that's a half dead system nowadays, but also LinkedIn. I'm around. My public email is basically reasonably well known. Just get in touch or through you. I'm about. How about
Yeah,
yourself, Alan?
yeah, same here. Understandingspirit.com is my website. I'm on Facebook, X, LinkedIn, Reddit, internet. I don't know what else on there. And yes, and if you can't find David, yes, get 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 to him through me as well. Anyway, another show, another day. I'm not going to be here next Sunday because I've got another bout on tomorrow of having injections in both of my eyes. Yeah, I know it sounds horrendous, isn't it? Believe it or not, it isn't as bad as you think. What's the worst part? You don't get no pain once it's been done. Just the pressure of the liquid going behind your eyes, and it is helping my eyesight. The first session did. I've got tomorrow, then I've got another one in July to happen. But it makes it that my eyes water a lot for quite a few days. So I'm not sure whether I'll be up to it for next Sunday or not. But God willing, be back the Sunday after, David.
Yeah, under no circumstances are you to do next week. We'll talk again the weekend after.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, okay. Well, God bless to everybody. I hope Sunday brings everything that you need, and for now.